We're back, and today we're previewing every relevant midfielder for our positional previews.
Come on!
Hello and welcome back to Off the Mark Fantasy, an AFL fantasy podcast. I'm Mason.
And I'm Casey, and here we are for our midfielders. Big podcast today, big group, lots of relevant players, lots of irrelevant players, and we're here to tell you what's what, who's who, and how to do it.
Yeah, we've got quite a few names here. We'll try and whiz through some, but there's a fair bit of information here. It's probably the one line where we can sort of play around a bit, I guess. Like there's not as much kind of set. I've seen a lot of unique midfields pretty much. There's maybe 2 or 3 players that I think most people or everyone will have.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting, I think.
Yeah, I like it.
And something that'll come up a lot, I feel like, is the buy players. I think especially with these premiums, I wrote a few of them in here on our list, and I don't know if maybe we'll just kind of whiz through a couple of them because a lot of them are not very relevant, or we're just saying no.
Yeah.
We'll start there with Bailey Smith, I guess. So I'm saying no. Starting with the most expensive midfielder with a buy after one game of scoring, it's not what we're doing. He plays Gold Coast and then Freo, so 2 good matchups, but we target him after his buy, even though he has Adelaide at home and Hawthorn away straight after, I think.
Yeah, look, he's an absolute gun. He's going to be the probably number one scoring player in fantasy this year again. I can see that happening. I don't see him slowing down at all. He missed a couple of games late last year, during last year, so that was a little bit difficult for us to handle. But look, I see us targeting him after the bye, exactly like you said, but cannot start with him. No.
Yeah, agreed. And this next guy as well, I don't think you can start with, but is Marcus Bontempelli. Sorry, I forgot to say it. Bailey average 116.3, priced at 1.22 mil, and Bont average 111.3, priced at 1.16 million. Again, absolutely not. And quite a lot more strong than Bailey as well. So he's got Brisbane at the Gabba in opening round, and then GWS at home at Marvel, and then Adelaide in Adelaide, and then his bye. So even without the bye, I probably wouldn't even be keen on starting him. With the bye, it's a definite no for me.
Yeah, for sure. And do you see him going? I see him going 110 again. I don't see him pushing that. I reckon if he really wants to, this is probably his last year at a late Brownlow push. I doubt he will. But I don't see him going over that, so he's not going to get much expensive. Like, we can still jump on him afterwards. So don't have to start with him at all.
I think that there's a lot to see in preseason as well with the Bulldogs CBA mix. Where does Treloar come back and fit in? Does Bont play a bit more forward because he's getting older? I'm not sure, but I'm just not keen to take a hit on that personally. A guy that I am keen to take a hit on, though, is Jordan Dawson, our first non-buy player. I really like this pick, but you are paying top dollar, unfortunately. He's in my side at the moment. And he averaged 110.2, priced at 1.15 million. He did this with the Crows finishing first, so winning the most games. I don't know if they do that again, so maybe he's a little bit overs. He plays Collingwood away and then Bulldogs at home first up. But then he goes into a really nice run of Geelong away, Freo at home, Carlton at home, and St Kilda at home. So 3 games in a row at Adelaide Oval, where I think he could average that 110, 115 across that 4-game stretch. So I like that pick from that sense.
Yeah, he also starts seasons really well. So last year he started 126, 134, 118, had an 80 in there. The year before that had an 80, 131, 100, 112. And then the year before that, 101, 122, 133. So he starts the season well. So whilst we've got these buy players and the premiums coming on the buy, Jordan Dawson's a great one. We know starts the season well. We know has a good run at the start of the season, and it's a perfect reason for us to pick him.
Yeah. And he was actually slightly down on some stats last year, mainly disposals, so kicks and handballs. He was much further down than 2024 and 23. But he did increase his tackle and goal numbers, so maybe played a little bit less of like an inside mid kind of role. I wonder if we see him back to that this year. And if he could put it all together and do the tackling, the goal kicking, and the kicks and handballs, he could average 115 if he can put it all together. So one to watch. He could. I see him as anywhere between 105 and 115. Which is he's priced right in the middle of that. So I think you can do that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. Yeah.
A guy that I don't think you can do is Nick Dacos, average 108.1, price 1.13 mil. Saints in opening round should be a good first up matchup, but then Adelaide and then a bye in round 2. It's just a no. And his 2 games post bye actually we can probably miss. He plays the Giants at the MCG and then Brisbane in Brisbane. But then after that plays Freo, Carlton and Essendon, which is really good. So maybe after all 4 bye rounds we can target him because he's obviously someone we're going to want. But yeah.
Someone we'll definitely have in our team at some point. I'm just looking later on in his fixtures. From round 11 through to round 19 even, he has a really good run. He goes Eagles, Dogs, D's, Port Adelaide, Richmond, North, Carlton. Like, that's a really good stretch of teams to have, and Dacos will be in our teams for that stretch 100%, if not earlier, like you said, just straight after those 2 games after the bye. And look, it's Dacos. He's an absolute gun, probably snubbed of the Brownlow, some would say. Like, He's gonna get it done, and he's gonna get it done at a high rate. He's gonna average 110, 108 around again. I don't see him dropping. It's where he's gonna be.
No.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah, so I think he's someone we target after his bye. Now we come into that. That's kind of like the top of the premiums, the like 105 plus guys. We come into a couple of Essendon boys here. We'll go through Jai Caldwell first. So 103.6 he averaged, priced at 1.08 million. I don't really love this purely because he's now had a couple injury setbacks in the preseason. It'd usually be a flag, but it's especially a flag for a guy who played 11 games last year. So I just don't want to touch it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, for sure. He has the ceiling. Don't get me wrong. 146, 128, 122. He has the ceiling scores, but he also has the flaws. 72. 57, 79, like, so he hits the low ones, he hits the high ones. Consistency wise, I hope he can do better. I was really hot on him in the start of the preseason. I had him in my team. No longer in my team. I don't trust it, and their run isn't the greatest either. I don't think.
Yeah. I don't think actually. Let's have a look. So they play Hawthorn, Port, North, Bulldogs, Melbourne, Gold Coast in their first 6 games. So a couple of good matchups in North, Melbourne, Gold Coast, but Port in Adelaide. Bulldogs in their home game, so Marvel anyway, and Hawthorn as well. Port, Hawthorn, Bulldogs are kind of hard. So I guess it's kind of neutral, not great, not terrible. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you take out the 57 and the 72 he had on 65 and 68%, so kind of his floor when he's not playing as well, he averages 112.3, which is insane. So there's upside, but I just think there's a lot of risk, and I think that it's I'm kind of cherry picking a bit there going, hey, let's take out the kind of injury scores for a guy who played 11 games and is already injured this preseason. Like, we just kind of have to expect those injured scores now. So I think he's probably priced around what he could do.
Yeah, and you talk about the risk, and if there's risk involved, it's not necessary. It could be a play, but also then again, why risk it when you've got a bloke in the same team right next to him, priced pretty much the same, who we know has gone over 100 in, 8 years in a row now?
It's more, I think, actually. I've got it written down somewhere here. So we're obviously talking about Zach Merritt, average minus 3.4, 1.07 million. So I have to take a bit of responsibility here.
Yeah.
If you did listen to our club previews, I had Essendon. I said that I was completely off this pick. I said that I didn't want to touch Zach Merritt because of the whole off-season thing. He wanted to go to Hawthorn. They couldn't get him there. But I read an article the other day, and now Essendon are pretty confident they could re-sign him if all things go their way. Now, if you turn down 3 first-rounders for this guy who was the captain of your club, you obviously want to keep him. So I think that if you want to keep him, and now there's the possibility you could, like, it's not obvious that he's going to Hawthorn next year, you're giving him CBAs, you're giving him, bulk time on ground, you're playing him pretty much wherever he wants just to keep him. And keep him happy, I think. And that's good for us, because my worry was that he would be shoved to a wing or a half forward, which I don't think it looks like will happen now.
Yeah. No, he is incredible when he gets that CBA time, that bulk CBA time, like we know. Like, last year averaged 102, then averaged 108 the year before. Then he had some real big ones of 112, 107, and 110 averages. Like, that is someone who has bulk midfield, the number one CBA, the number one ball getter in that midfield mix. Caldwell going injured, Darcy Parish, who we know has the injury setbacks. I just see them having Zach Merritt in there as a rock in their CBAs. I don't see him going out. I reckon he's got that number 1 or number 2 spot, all things considered.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how Parish slots in, because there are guys like Durham as well who it feels weird putting him as like a 4th man in the midfield. But I guess that's what he'll be if everyone's fit. But from a wider perspective of Zach's scoring, he's priced at 103.4. But before 2025, he dropped below 105 once since 2015.
Whew.
That was 11 years ago. And that time that he dropped below was the COVID year where he still had 92.6. So if we adjust the score, it's probably over 100 anyway. So really, he hasn't dropped below 100, we'll say, since 2015. I don't think that if he gets that same CBA role, even just a little bit less of a CBA role, he goes under 103.4. I don't think that he goes under his average at all. I can't see a world where that happens.
Yeah, and look, it's the only downside I see at all is the same thing we talked about for Coldwell. He's got those 3 games at the start of the season that it's, you could say it's a tough matchup, but then again, we've seen what Zach Merritt does. So he plays teams like Port Adelaide and the Bulldogs and the, who was the other one?
So they're round 1 Hawks, round 2 Port, round 3 North.
Yeah. Yeah, and you look at what he's done last year. So last year he went 96 against the Hawks, and that was round 1 when he has had full midfield time. 108 against Port Adelaide, 117 against North. So he can do it. I like that consistency far more than I like Coldwell. So if you're tossing up between the two, there's a clear-cut 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, I think, interestingly, the thing that I was worried about with Zach Merritt, and I'm slightly worried about this year as well, is his consistency. So he only had 11 games over a ton, which was his lowest year, like his lowest amount of games over a ton for a year, apart from 2020, obviously, since 2015 as well, when he averaged 90. So his scoring was more sporadic. He had some flaws of 54, 57, 76. But then obviously evened his average out with highs of 149, 145, 138, 134, 132. So had a lot of big scores, but it's just those low ones. And I remember he was playing like half forward or something when he did them. And I don't exactly remember the reason why, but I just remember people, because then there was that bit in the middle of the year where he got really cheap, wasn't it? He was like 950k or something.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, should we pick him up? But he's playing half forward. So I think that if we can see that his CBA role is secure, it's almost a lock of a pick for me.
Yeah, and if you want a ceiling guy, Zach Merritt's your man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, if you want another ceiling guy, it could be this next guy in Errol Goulden, average 102.3, priced at 1.07 million. I'm not as sold on him, and yes, there's the buy, but there's other reasons too. I like him as a pick. I just think after opening round, when he goes Brisbane at the SCG and the Hawthorn away and then a bye, it's a no. Like, I could see people picking him if he had like the Gold Coast run where he played West Coast Richmond bye. Bang, he'd be in my side. But Brisbane at the SCG and then Hawthorn in Melbourne is just a no, I don't think.
Yeah, for sure. But after that, he goes West Coast, Gold Coast, who are a little bit harder, but then he has a run of the Doggies, the D's, North, with Richmond and St Kilda not too far away from that. So definitely someone we can target after the bye for sure. He's going to be a top scorer for sure.
Yeah. And there's lots of talk about this like new fast moving game plan. You know, the rucks, they're trying to get less stoppages. They're trying to get it end to end. I've seen people describe it as like they're trying to make it more like basketball, which makes sense. And I've heard a lot of talk among people online about this being good for players like Goulden or Dacos or like Walsh. They're like running midfielder types. But I just feel like it's being a bit too built up. Like, is it really going to add more than like 3 or 4 points to his average? Like a different way the game's being played? I don't know. And I feel like people are going to adapt and clubs are going to adapt to try and find a way to slow it down still, because that's how they want the game to be played. Ben Matthews, a Sydney coach, actually spoke earlier today about him spending more time as an inside mid, which does make me slightly more hot because not that Errol would ever get caught on a cold wing, but it does happen to wingmen. And he usually runs through the CBAs anyways. But the fact that he's been training there all pre-season has me quite excited for what he could do, definitely.
Yeah, and the thing I like about Errol as well is that he's not the number 1 tag target in the Swans. Like we saw last year, they go to Chad Warner before they go to Errol. Errol plays as an outside mid sometimes, even sometimes coming in from the wing. He doesn't cop as much attention as other blokes in the team, like your Chad Warner. Errol's clear-cut number 2, but it goes to Chad first, which is why we love Errol from a fantasy perspective, because there's not that downside as a couple others have, like a Brayshaw or a Zach Butters, who we know are tag targets and stuff like that. So I like that from Goulden.
Do you see him getting tagged more this year? Do you think that, I mean, he had kind of an injury affected last year. I think he played maybe 10 games. Do you think that they were just kind of not as keen to tag him with that?
Yeah, I suppose not as early in the season. I definitely don't think he gets tagged earlier on in the season. But I suppose as he puts a bit of a season together and he gets a little bit further down the line, teams might start realizing, put a bit more attention on Errol rather than. But it's a two-pronged horse. Like if you put attention on Errol, then you're letting Chad Water run free, who we know is an absolute star when he has the chance. So it's kind of up to teams to see what they do. I think as far as an impact perspective goes, Chad Warner's probably more impactful, but Errol, don't get me wrong, he's probably one of the best kicks in the league, so wouldn't be surprised if they went to him, but I don't see it at the start of the season. I reckon that'll take some time to progress.
Yeah, and I think as well as we see this new game style progress, we could see outside players being the tag target as opposed to previously kind of the inside bull, but, people will tag like Bont or Cripps or, someone like that who's like the star player. Interestingly, looking at DFS, it does say he did get tagged twice, even though I don't remember these games. He got tagged against Freo apparently, but he scored a 127, so I don't know what that's about. And then he did get tagged against Geelong, and I feel like I remember O'Shane Mullen going to him. He still scored an 88, but was down slightly on everything. There were a couple times but then he had non-tag games, 124, 114, 133, where teams just didn't go to him at all. So I think that, I could see him getting tagged more as the season goes along and people start figuring out how good of a player he is. But, actually, let's look at his fixture. So Carlton, I don't think Carlton will tag this year, personally. Brisbane won't. Hawthorn could in round 2, but then he has his bye anyway. We're probably not picking him before then. West Coast won't. Gold Coast won't. Giants probably won't. Bulldogs probably won't. Yeah, so he goes pretty tag-free up until Geelong in round 11. So that round 4 to round 10 after his bye is probably when I'd want to be targeting him. And even with the Geelong tag, like I said, he still scored an 88. So if that's his floor when he's tagged, it's not like a Butters 30 or something. So
yeah, no, I don't mind it at all. Definitely can consider having it in. And some people have been talking about switching between two blokes on the buys, who you start with a buy player and then you pivot to another buy player. If you've got someone who has the round round 3 bye, I think, when just after Errol finished. So Sydney have the round 3 bye, don't they? So if you have someone who has
yes, I think so,
the round 4 bye, which is the good bye, like you start with a GWS player who has that really good run, not the greatest run, but it has an alright run, like you start with let's say a Clary or someone like that, then you could pivot to Errol and have that, you make yourself a non-buy player just by skipping like that, and I don't mind that as a play. Personally, probably
definitely
won't be doing it, but I still don't mind it as a play.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. On to our next guy, though, who doesn't have a buy. It's Andy Brayshaw, average 101, priced at 1.06 million. I think you can do this. So he had his lowest average since the COVID year. And before COVID, he was kind of a rookie scoring 60. So it's pretty much his lowest average since he's been a premium for us. And since 2020, he hasn't played less than 20 games a season, hasn't averaged under 100, hasn't had under 10 tons in a year, pretty much hasn't had under 80% TOG. There's a couple 79s in there, but we'll count it. And he pretty much hasn't had under 70% CBAs, except for 2021, where I think he had 65 or something. So, all of that, that's 5 straight years of all of them things being true. Yeah. There's kind of just, something about him. I don't know what it is. Frere's game plan, I guess we can assume, will improve this year. He's not a contested player, so maybe a bit more transition, like we talked about with Errol. He could improve with that. So the new rules could benefit. But it's just, maybe it's because I've owned him and he's killed me in the past. It's just something that kind of turns me the wrong way with him, and I kind of squirm when he's at my side. I need to get him out. Yeah,
I don't mind it, though. He goes Geelong, the D's, then the Tigers. Last year against Geelong, now everyone sees that as a harder matchup. He still hit 95. He hit 95 against Geelong, then he went 123 against the Tigers and 106 against the D's. He's a top scorer. And I think, as you said, he had career low or career lows last year. He's looking to bounce back, man. I tell you what, he's looking to bounce back. And I'm really hot on Brayshaw. I've got him in my side as we speak. And I just really like what he can do, what he has done in the past. And especially against that matchup of the first 3 rounds at least. And then even from there, I just see him not dropping off this season. He plays the Crows, the Pies, and then Eagles, Blues, Dogs. It's a genuinely good start to the season fixture-wise. I don't see him going under 105.
Yeah, well, from 2021, he averaged 104. then went up to 112, down to 110, down to 104, and now down to 101. So it's his floor since 2020, and he was just kind of a bit down on everything, just slightly. He did improve his tackle numbers though, which is interesting. So maybe played a bit more contested footy. So he only had 70% CBAs 2024 and then went up to 77 this year, which is kind of where he was sitting around his 110 years. I don't know if I could see him getting back to the 110 that he was, but 105, I could definitely see that.
Yeah, no, I agree. But like I said, I have him in my side. I think he's going to be great. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's a lot of good options here that are like it makes you think. Like, I just think that it's a hard no on all these, like, the Smiths, the Dacosses, that have the bye. Like, why you've got, we spoke very highly about Merritt. I think Dawson's a good pick. We've just spoken highly about Brayshaw. I mean, Errol, yes, has the bye, but he's also a good pick. This next guy, Zach Butters, I mean, how can you not pick him? Average 99.9, price 1.04 million, average 106.1 in 2024, so he's already down 6 points. He didn't have any injury-affected games last year, but he did, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think he did have some injury issues during the preseason.
Yeah, preseason.
That made him, because I remember him being, like, people were talking about him as an option, and then he kind of had, I think it was like an ankle or something to do with his leg, lower leg, and he kind of just went out of all calculations, and I think I picked him up later in the year, and he was pretty good. But he definitely had an interrupted preseason. So without that, I mean, I think we underestimate how much a good preseason can do for a player. That could be a 6-point upgrade, just having a good preseason for him. And I mean, we talk about this run that they have. Like, he'll average 110, 115, 120 over that even.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. You talk about there being a boost in scoring when you have a good preseason. How about a boost in scoring when you play teams like North Melbourne, Essendon, West Coast, Richmond, and St Kilda all in a row?
Yeah.
Like, that is next level run, especially to start the season. I cannot see a reason why we wouldn't have him in our teams. He's not getting tagged by any of those teams. Port should win all of those games. Should. You never know. I hope they win all those games. I can't see Zach Butters going under 110. Like, it's as simple as that. Bro can hit the ceiling scores. We know he's hit his ceiling scores in the past. Like, last year, he's hitting highs of 126, 125, 122, and then finished off at the end of the year against Gold Coast with a 152. Like, the bloke can hit ceiling scores. If there was ever a time to hit ceiling scores, it's against these easy teams, which he's done before. The two that I read out, 126, 125 last year, that was against the Roos and against the Eagles, whom he both plays early on in the season. Like, no reason not to have him in your side. It's as simple as that. This is the biggest no-brainer pick, or one of the biggest no-brainer picks in that team this year.
Yeah, I genuinely can't find a flag with him. I mean, it's contract year as well, so he's probably going to play better for that. New coach, but it is Port's old midfield coach who was coaching him anyway, so I don't see any change with that. The one flag that I did want to research is his floor when he got tagged. So obviously we remember the Geelong game last year where he had a 27, and then the second Geelong game where he had a 46. He got tagged against Hawthorn for a 105, which was still pretty good. Tagged against Fremantle for an 85 and tagged against Carlton for a 79. So that's 5 times he got tagged last year. That's a lot for one player. But it's been floated, and I saw this the other day, I don't know if you saw this, that he could possibly play halfback at some points during the year. Possibly.
Yeah, right.
Now, this was a very, like obscure thing. I don't know if it's he's not going to be like what Rosie did last year and just completely move to halfback. I wonder if it's a strategy to avoid when he's being tagged and he just swaps with Rosie. So he played, I don't know when did Port play Geelong?
Round 7-ish.
Round 7.
Yeah.
So round 7, that's right after the good run. Round 7, Port played Geelong. Butters goes to the CBA and O'Shea Mullen goes straight to him. The next CBA, I would not be surprised if he's on the halfback line and Rosie's in his spot in the CBAs just to shake the tag. Because I think he needs something like that. He obviously can't work through them. I think changing position is the best for us looking at him. And I didn't take out his tag scores. I thought I would just set his tag scores to what his average is, which is 100. So I added up all his games and added up 500 for the 5 games that he got tagged, averaging 100. His average went to 107.8. So it's like 8 points upside. And I could kind of, that sounds like he could do that this year. No? For
sure. And I think the greatest part, like you mentioned, the plays Geelong in round 7, but as we've spoken about with this early run, I see him, like I said, I don't see him going under 110. He will put cash on his head, whether it's a little bit or just enough to get us to the buy players to move us up to like a Bailey Smith or a Bontempelli or a Nick Dacos, those blokes that we talk about. Because it's a known fact, he gets tagged and he drops low scores. Will we keep him in our side? Maybe, but we have the flexibility because he's going to put some cash in his head. We have the flexibility to move on from him. I just see him as the perfect starting pick.
And like looking at his fixture, he doesn't really have like a bad run. So obviously he has this good run, which takes a lot of like teams out of like who he plays, that he'll only play some of them for a second time. He does have, let's have a look. So he goes bye in round 12, then West Coast great, Sydney at home, Collingwood away, Showdown, which is tough. But then he goes North at home, St Kilda away, Freo at home. And then again, Brisbane away, GWS at home, Sydney away, that's tough. But then Melbourne at home and Essendon away is great. So like he doesn't have more than 2 or 3 bad matchups in a row without following it with a really good matchup. So he could be someone that we hold all year, to be honest. I could see him being a 105 plus guy.
Yeah. No, I like it. For sure. I agree.
Well, I think this might be the first one that we slightly disagree on. And this is Noah Anderson, averaged 98.8, priced at 1.04 million. I think it's a play. I like it. I'm not doing it because I've already invested in Petrarca with this run. But the round 1 West Coast, round 2 Richmond, and then the bye, that's elite. I mean, I don't know if you remember Tom Green a couple years ago. I think he had the same. It was like West Coast and North or something.
Yeah.
And we all got him. I think he averaged like 120 over those 2 games and then traded him off at the bye because he had a couple hard matchups after that. And it worked. No, not often does that work, but it did work. Now, let's look. So after their bye, they go Melbourne, Sydney, Essendon, Hawthorn. That's the only problem for me and why I'm not doing it, because I would be... he scores 120 against West Coast, scores 120 against Richmond, and then he has the bye, and then afterwards he plays Melbourne, Sydney, Essendon. Are you going to trade him? No, you're going to hold him.
Got to. Yeah.
Surely.
I like him, but the reason I have him as a maybe is because I don't want to overload on that round 3 bye. We talk about players like Elrod Goulden and how he's got an all right run now, he's going to score well and that sort of stuff, and we're just saying no because of the bye. I'm not going to change because he's got like West Coast Richmond. Like you talk about Tom Green scoring that. Yes, Anderson will probably score the same thing, but like you, I've also got Petrarca in my side, and there's far more upside in Petrarca as I see him being able to score similarly. It's easy for me to say, and he's also in the forward line. Like I like that a lot more.
Yeah, Petrarca's a much better pick, I think. And I'd rather invest in the run there. And then some other people, as you said, might have a Goulden, might have a Connor McDonald in the forward line. There's a few more, particularly in the forward line, that I'm not, I don't want another one on that round 3 bye. But yeah, I think you could do it. There's a way that it could work and that it could really set you up for a good season. And obviously with that round 3 bye, you could hold him for those 2 games, and then you could get any of the Brisbane mids. You could pick up a Sam Walsh and maybe bank some cash. You could pick up a Nick Dacos, a Bailey Smith. There's a lot of options off that buy that you could do. So, yeah, I think it can work. It's not for me, but I'm ticking it off. You can do it.
Yeah, nice one.
All right, now this is getting interesting because we've got Finn Callahan next, who I feel like hasn't gotten enough love this preseason. He's averaged 99 last year, 1.03 million. I had him. I kind of rode him. I was like, he was my guy. He was my pick that I wanted. I didn't mean it like that.
My bad.
But yeah, average 99. He had some really great scores. And he was a good pick for me last year. Actually, I did research him. I don't actually have my notes up for what he did last year, but I think he had hold on, let me quickly get him up before I read what I've actually written for this episode. He kind of got better halfway through the year last year, I remember. Yeah, so first few games, 110, 92, 57, 79, 79. And then after that, he played every game and dipped below 100 5 times.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
And he had 5 120 plus scores there. He was elite. I think off the top of my head, he averaged 107 or something after that. So I think now with a whole year to do that, he could do that. Now, this is the interesting part. Literally 5 minutes before we click record on this, we got the notification through that Tom Green has possibly done his ACL. Now, by the time this comes out, you might know whether he has or not, and he might not have. But we're going to talk as if he has, which is terrible for Tom Green. He wasn't really an option, but you don't like to see that at all. But with Green out, I pose this question to you. Is Finn Callaghan the number one midfielder at the Giants, or is it Clayton Oliver?
Oh, no, it's Finn Callaghan. It's as simple as that. Like, yes, Clary coming to a new club, absolutely outstanding, but he just hasn't shown the consistency over the last 4 years that Finn Callaghan has. I mean, yes, Callaghan had a slow first couple of years, but he's really finding his stride. He's at the Giants, like, that they want him as the number one, him and Tom Green. Like, Tom Green got his fan club. They love him at Manuka Oval. Don't be surprised if they got some Callaghan fans popping up as well. Like, the bloke's elite. I think it's Callaghan. It's as simple as that. Yeah, sure, Clary might be number 2, especially now that Tom Green's gone out, but it's Finn Callaghan. But I also see Finn Callaghan as the number one tagging option for them as well. Like,
that is true.
We know we know Clary's been tagged in the past, and it's worked. Callaghan, I don't know if we have the stats. I didn't look it up before this game. I probably should have. I don't know if we've had the stats on him being tagged. He kind of strikes me as the bloke who would work through a tag. Like, he's a bigger body. He's not going to get shut down particularly easily. I think I remember last year, the only one that comes to my mind when I was thinking about it was when he copped the windy tag and he copped a 79. And then he played him right again at the end of the season and windy tagged him again and he got a 90. So he's working his way through that windy tag. I'm not sure if he got tagged by other teams, but I know he can. And I know he can. Yeah. But what I really like about Tom Green, Finn Callaghan, and not as a starting player, but straight after his bye, he has probably one of the best 8-game stretches of the, like, him and the Giants. So they go...
Oh, I haven't seen this.
Yeah, they go in round 5, they go Richmond, Sydney a little bit harder, then they go North, Gold Coast a little bit harder. So 2 of the 4 you really like. Essendon, West Coast, Brisbane a bit harder, but then they go D's, St Kilda, Carlton. Like, that is a really good stretch. I really like their stretch from round 5 all the way through to round 15. Yes, they've got their bye there at round 13 as well, but I think that's an outstanding run, and something between early bye and the mid-season buys, I can see us loading up with Finn Callaghan, Clary Oliver, even your Whitfields and your Ashes as well. Like, I reckon we're going to be looking at some Giants players, but for me, not to start the season.
Yeah. Well, we were literally talking. Who were we talking about before? Zach Butters. We were talking about you could trade him off and get one of those kind of late round buy players
for sure.
So you could go him to a Callaghan. So let's look at his tags. Quickly. So he did get tags. DFS hasn't listed the windy tag, but I do remember that. So he did 79 in round 5 and then a 90 in round 24 last game of the year. So he did work through it a bit. He also got tagged in round 3 against Hawthorn when he wasn't playing as well, scored a 57, which was bad, but then he got tagged in round 20 when he was playing better, the James Jordan tag against Sydney, and still scored a 95. So it seems that when he was playing better in the last half of the year, when he really, really, hit his stride, he was being able to work through them, and maybe Tom Green took a bit of heat off him, and we don't see that this year. But yeah, I don't know about that. And just looking at who he comes up against, so if we're not looking at him before it, so he does have the windy tag in round 2 before his bye, but if we look after his bye, so Richmond, nothing. Sydney probably will get the James Jordan tag. No North tag, no Gold Coast tag, no Essendon tag, no West Coast tag, no Brisbane tag, maybe Jared Berry, probably no Melbourne tag. Although I think they could be a tagging side this year because it looks like Tom Sparrow could play some midfield time and he has tagged in the past, so maybe a little watch on that. But yeah, then the bye, and obviously St Kilda will tag, Carlton probably won't, Hawthorn could tag, Freo could tag. So maybe it's when we hop off. I would think between his 2 buys is prime time for Finn Callaghan. And I'm his number 1 fan, so maybe I'm being a little too hot on him. But I'll be down there as the sole Finn Callaghan fan club member at Manuka Oval. You'll see me there.
See you there,
you won't see me there. I won't be at Manuka Oval, but in spirit, I'll be there for Finn Callaghan. I'll set up a Finn Callaghan fan stand behind my TV. There we go.
I like that.
So yeah, I think you could do it, but it's a meh pick. But on to our next guy, Jack Steele, 95.9 he averaged last year, 1 million straight. He is now. This is yes, and I don't want to say yes, but I'm going to say yes, but. I know he's been lock as much as Butters. People he hasn't left my side, by the way.
Yeah. Same.
I don't think I'm as hot on him as some people are. I think a lot of people are going, he's 95, number 1 mid-spot, Melbourne, new club. He's going to get back to his best. He's not injured, blah, blah, blah. He's going to go back to 110. I do not see him reaching the heights of his 110 days. I think it's a stretch seeing him go 105. He went 106 in 2024. I mean, we talk about how the game's going to change. Could we see contested players like him go down a little bit? Possibly. Not that much again. I think it's no more than 3 or 4 points, but I think he could at his max average 105. So last year he was very down on kicks and marks from his big years, which as the transition game increases, I could see him increasing, just kind of getting a part of, being around, being an option. And I think one thing that I don't think I've mentioned yet, I don't think I've seen anyone mention, with this transition game, the ball's going to be moving around pretty fast, right? I think a lot of players are going to get pretty tired pretty quickly. And I think there's going to be a lot of room for a bit of chipping action, a bit of let's just kick it around for a little bit, see if we can find a way through, as opposed to a lot of stoppages. And I think that could help someone like Jack Steele, who could kind of drift around and be the kind of everything man, Mr. Fix-It, fill in this gap in the oval right there. I think he could get his kicks and marks up, which could increase his score. His time on ground went from 84% in 2024 to 76% in 2025. I predict it goes back up to mid-80s, which is what it was when he was averaging 110. So, yeah, although I didn't see the heights of 110, I could see him averaging 10. I'll go 103, which is still 8 points upside, and that's great.
Yeah, I'll do you one better. I'll do you two better. I reckon he will go to 105. I reckon he will.
I could see it.
The thing with Jack Steele that I have noticed last year especially, but even sometimes the year before that, he has a floor. Now, in previous years, his floor hasn't been too low. Back to 2024. Yes, that wasn't last year, it was the year before. His floor was only in the 70s, like a high floor that we really liked that. Like we were talking about the same kind of floor as Wanganeen Miller, and we really liked that. But last year, he had some low ones. He had a couple of 60s, a couple 150, and a 40, and then a 25. I think that was an injured game. He only had 29% time on ground. Or that might have even been the game that he started as the sub.
He was the sub that game, yeah.
So he has a floor. But as you mentioned when you were talking about your yes, but all of the things that you said when he was like, oh, he's at a new club, he's the number one midfielder, all of this sort of stuff, I'd change your tone, and that's all ticks. Like, he's at a new club, he's the number one midfielder.
True, yeah. That is true.
I just see that as an absolute win. Like, I can't see how that goes back poorly for Jack Steele. And yeah, I reckon for stretches of the year, he will go at 110. I reckon he can go at 110 for 4 or 5 game stretches at a time, especially if they have a good run, which I, poor podcasting, haven't actually looked at to see what their run is like.
Let's have a look. So after the round 4 bye, they go Port away, Adelaide away. So 2 games in Adelaide in a row. We need to not, like, that's... sorry. I'm still looking at St Kilda. I thought he still played at St Kilda.
So, yeah.
Melbourne. Okay. He actually starts very well. So St Kilda, Fremantle, Carlton, Gold Coast, Essendon. That's like...
It's pretty solid.
That's almost as good as Port's run.
Look, don't say anything crazy now.
St Kilda, if we're saying hardness on a scale of 100 the hardest, 0 the least hard, St Kilda's like a 70. Freo's like a 70, Carlton's like an 80, Gold Coast and Essendon are both like 100. They were last year constantly swapping between the easiest team for midfielders.
Yeah.
Then he goes Brisbane, which is like a 20, and then he goes Richmond, which again is 100.
Yeah.
As opposed to Port. So he plays probably 3 of the easiest teams in the first 7 rounds, which Port also do. And they play West. So yeah, I guess, okay. The Port run's a little bit easier, but I think Melbourne's probably the second behind them.
Yeah, it's a very good run.
He does start with a good run.
So yeah, it might be crazy to say he'll go at 110 for the first 5 games. He might probably go 108, maybe something like that. But I think with a good run, no reason Jack Steele can't go back to what he used to be like, high scoring.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the floor scores, we obviously spoke about that game where he started as the sub. A couple of the floor scores, I remember him sitting forward because he had I think he had a calf or something, or he was strapped up for something.
He was properly strapped up, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find, there's a few games here where he's had, so that's 65. No, it doesn't look, he doesn't have a lot of forward 50 time except for, so the game where he scored 46, he had a bit of forward time, and then obviously that sub game 25 was the round after where he also had some forward time. So that might have been a little patch of those two. I actually don't know if I can... Yeah, so without a few of those low TOG games, he averages 99. So there's already 4 points of upside built into his score. And yeah, as we spoke about, number 1 guy, Oliver and Track gone. It looks like Viney's going to be gone until the mid-season as well with the Achilles I think he's done. So he'll be out for a while. Yeah, I just can't see him going under his average of 95.9. I don't see a world where he goes under that.
Green, tick. Move on to the next one. Have him in your side.
Big tick. Well, this guy I'm not ticking off yet, and I probably did when we first made our sides, and it's Sam Walsh, average 93.1, priced at 977k. It's just a round 2 buy. It just sucks, because it's like you get 1 game out of him, 2 price rises, and then he's out. I think it's almost going to... Is it going to suck more not having him for round 2, or is it going to suck more watching everyone around you have him for that Richmond matchup in round 1 and get the massive price rise? You know, he'll be over $1 million by the time you want him after his buy. Not by much though, and I think I'm happy to kind of like sideways a bad pick, because there's we're going to have bad picks. I'm happy to sideways that to Walsh after his buy, where he actually goes Melbourne, North Melbourne, Adelaide away, Collingwood, Freo, St Kilda. So there's really only 1 or 2 tough games in that run. I think that he'll be good for that. We speak about guys like Errol, who are going to be good as an outside player. Walsh is going to be that guy this year, and I think that I find it hard to believe that if he doesn't get injured, I'm touching my wooden desk right now, if he doesn't get injured, he will average 105 to 110. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah.
And that is a premium that is like 15 points underpriced.
Yeah, it's high upside. I can't lie.
Really high upside. The problem is just the injury. So from memory, he hasn't had an uninjury interrupted preseason since maybe 2022. I reckon 2022. And he's so far so good. He's been playing all the intra clubs. He actually, I read earlier this week, he said no to playing State of Origin. Chris Scott called him up first. He was the first player that Chris Scott wanted in the Victorian side, and he said, nope, I just want to focus on my preseason, get my body right, and play well for my club. So as a Carlton supporter, I love that. As a guy who wants him in fantasy, I love it. But we're just not picking him at the round 2 buy. We can do it afterwards. Even if we're missing out on 50k he's going to make, we can do it afterwards.
Yeah, solid. And you say, do you worry about sitting there watching him score a high score in round 2? I sit there thinking, yeah, probably. But I've got Nick Newman who's going to score 145. I'm not too upset. And I've got Caleb Sarong in round 2 who's going to score just as highly. I think, as we're kind of saying, I'm stealing your little line there as we're segueing to the next bloke. But I just like the Freo run so much better than, or maybe not so much better, but I just love the upside and with no buy. And I spoke about it in our team previews. Caleb Sarong starts a year like no other. He has got some of the highest scoring starting to the seasons that I've ever seen in my entire life. Bloke started with 161, 128, 118. The year before, 115, 127, 106, 125. I've already read this out. You've already heard this if you've heard the Freo preview. I am so hot on Caleb Sarong as a player. I think that is, if you're going Walsh or Sarong, it's clear-cut Sarong. Yeah. Simple as that.
It's Sarong, yeah. Agreed. So average 108 in 2023, 103 in 2024, and now he's all the way down to 92 in 2025. So he dropped 11 points. The only thing I could see that was down were his marks, having 1.1 less a game, and everything else was just down like 0.5 to 1 less. So he just kind of was generally down as a player. I don't think his role or the game plan affected him too much. Or I guess the game plan just affected him as a player as a whole. And you would think the game plan improves, probably, or at least it's a bit more fantasy friendly. And I actually wonder how much this Freo game plan that is getting a lot of talk this preseason changes with the rule changes as well and the game being faster. I wonder if they just have to kind of succumb to that and play like everyone else. I think if he can rise his floor so he had floor scores 46, 62, 65, 66. Some of them are tag games, obviously. If he can rise them to like 70s or 80s, he could easily average 100, which it's already a good pick if he averages 100. But, I mean, what do you see his ceiling being? Like
I said, the bloke can hit high scores, 140s, 150s, even a 160. We know he can hit that ceiling. I think as a ceiling, as an average, are you asking?
Yeah, for the season. What do you think? Yeah, for the season.
Now, yeah, about 105. I was going to say 110, but then that's pretty crazy. I think 105 is a Caleb Sarong. Maybe 108. I'll push it to that as an absolute ceiling. On average,
he's susceptible to a tag too.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, he gets tagged before Brayshaw gets tagged.
And my concern is that picking him, and again, I think you pick him over Walsh because he doesn't have a bye, but he does have Geelong first up, like round 1. And let me quickly type in his name here because he did get tagged by O'Shane Mullen last year, and it would have been one of I think it might have been the 46 or something.
Like, O'Shane Mullen, he didn't play. He played probably 50% of the games last year. As an AFL footballer, I'm not an AFL footballer. As an AFL football fan, there we go. I'd certainly like to be. I'm not. As a fan, I would hate nothing more than round one, my very first game. I'm a Freo fan. Out comes fucking O'Shane Mullen to tag my best player. Like, it's just the most unnecessary thing. They're playing at GMHBA. But here's the thing. Chris Scott's the bloke to do it. We know
that's what I was just about to say. If there's anyone that's that annoying, it's Chris Scott.
It's going to be Chris Scott. Like, yeah, it just frustrates me. So, we'll see. If history tells us anything, it's that tags don't really kick in till round 5. That people play once blokes. But, like, last year was probably the most tagging we've seen across the whole on the league. And it still didn't kick in until, like, yes, there was a couple of early tags here and there. Teams trying it out. I think Bedford was a tagger early in the season. But they don't really kick in until teams are, like, showing some really good form, or like players are just tearing the house down, all that sort of stuff. Who knows? With any luck, Hayden Young is an absolute superstar, and we can pivot to him, or he gets the tag,
or he gets tagged.
Even better.
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
what I was going to say. Yeah. But yeah, it's one to watch. But besides that, he goes Geelong first round, so yeah, might not post the best score. Then he goes D's, Tigers, has the Crows, Pies, Eagles, Blues. It's a pretty good run. It's a pretty good run.
Yeah.
And the Pies weren't even that good at stocking points as well. Like, yes, I say.
No, and I think they're going to be worse this year.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be an easier matchup. I actually need to sit down and have a look at the old fixture difficulty table and see if I can because I can't base it off numbers
yet.
Because I feel like a lot of things are going to change. So I might just sit down and go, this is who I think is going to be easy. Because I think Melbourne's going to be completely different. I think they'll be easy, but we just have to kind of wait and see. Collingwood, I think, will get easier. Someone like the Giants now with Oliver and without Green, it'll be completely different. I mean, there's a lot of change-ups, particularly with midfielders, which is the main thing that I think will be different. So maybe I'll have to sit down and have a look at that. But yeah, Caleb's wrong. I think, again, if he can rise his floor, I'm happy to pick him. Even if without that, I'm happy to pick him. 92 is so unders, it's not even funny. We're picking him over Walsh and probably hoping that we have both at some point during the year.
Yeah. Happy to get on.
Too easy. Now, I just wanted to mention this next guy, Took Miller, average 92, 955k. I think I did mention him when we were doing Gold Coast because I said that he could pick up forward status, which could be interesting because with Petrarca obviously playing as the third mid now, you'd assume Took plays, Petrarca plays 60-40, Took's probably playing 40-60 midfield forward time. But I have heard some whispers that he could play half back this year, which is really interesting. So I just think it's a no. We're not picking him in our side until we see it for sure. And even then, I probably wouldn't touch it after the bye, although they do have those two good matchups. But just watch it, even for a DPP pick after round 6 or round 8 or whenever it is. Just watch if he plays on halfback, because I think he could be good then. But yeah, we're saying no.
I've got no written down, and the only thing I can think to say about Took Miller is that if you're considering Took Miller, find the extra cash to go Anderson. It's simple as that.
Yeah. All right. This might be where we completely agree, because I've just changed on our document from a meh to a yes, because I'm quite hot on this guy. Like I don't know him in my side, but I really think you can do it. And it's a hot take. It's controversial. It's Luke Davies-Uniacke, average 87.7, price at 920k. I think you can do it. I think this is finally the year that we can pick LDU. So he averaged 87 last year after averaging 95 2025, 97 in 2024, and 93 in 2023. So he's kind of mid-90s, and he's now at 87. He's arguably underpriced, I think. My question to you is, last year the Roos CBAs were kind of a little bit all over the place. You had guys like Jai Simpkin, Tom Powell, Will Phillips, Luke Parker, all sitting between like 30 to 50%. Parker might have been a bit higher at like 60%. Do you think that continues? I mean, Shees was obviously in there, so he gets a bump. Wardler, if he's fit, will LDU's the other guy in there, arguably above both of those guys. Yeah. I think he's their number one mid. I think they tighten up the CBAs. I have read an article saying that Clarkson, he's heading for that top 10. He wants top 10. You just tighten it up, I think. And LDU is the main guy in there. That's only good news in my opinion.
Yeah. The only thing I have on that is that LDU is a great player and has the flexibility to play forward as sometimes. Like we've seen him be a contested mark goal kicker. Whereas Luke Parker, as he's older now, doesn't have that flexibility as much. Yes, he used to do that in his prime Sydney days, but I wonder if his flexibility for Davies Uniacke is his downside. And LDU, you only have to look at his floor from last season of he scores 70s, he scores 60s, he scores even a 17 in a low time on ground game. But I wonder how much of that was tough matchup or how much of that was he's playing a little bit more forward time than his midfield time.
Well, let's have a look. That the 17 was what did I have written down here? It was an injured score, I think. Yeah, so injured score of 17 in there, which if you take it out, brings his average up 4 points to 91. And when he had over 80% CBAs, which I think was every game, but like 4 or 5, he averaged 95.3. He also has an opening fixture of Port, West Coast, Essendon, Carlton, Brisbane, Richmond. So plays West Coast, Essendon, Richmond in his first 6, which is elite. And now let's look at some of his low scores. So yeah, 70 against Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval. Fair enough. 71 against Carlton, that's probably unacceptable. A 74 against Freo at Optus Stadium, fair enough. 65 against West Coast. Oof. Yeah, 17 injured score. 77 against Geelong. Like, there are some harder matchups. But then, I mean, he hit that 162 in the game that Shees also went 180, which was elite. But he only hit over 100. He only hit over 100 twice more against Gold Coast and then against Adelaide for the year. He really sat at like mid-90s. He's quite consistent. I'll read out. So 99, 98, 98, 97, 97, 95, 93, 86, 86. Like it's that high 80s to high 90s mark, which priced at 87. I just don't know if it's enough upside, but I just like it. And I think that there's a world where he could go 100, but I don't know. And he's got a good opening fixture.
I've watched you talk yourself out of it now. This is actually quite funny. I'm looking on your face.
That's what I had him as a yes on our document, did my research, and I was like, actually. And then I put him as a meh. And then we've just scrolled on him now, and I've gone, you know what? I'm going to go hard on this guy, and I've changed to a yes. And you know what? I'm going to change it back to the yellow color on our table, and he's gone back to a meh. He's still a meh. But yeah. I wanted to mention him because I just feel like he could, I just want him to do something. I want that to be a good pick. And I can post everywhere going, ODU's going to be a good pick and laugh at everyone.
Yeah, it's a great run. Don't get me wrong. It's an absolutely outstanding run, and that's why I'm so excited that you've said you're not going with Sheasel. I look forward to that. That's going to be such a great start to the year.
Every podcast and article I read and listen to is going, like I was listening to the traders last night and they were like, if you're not picking Sheasel, you're an absolute donut. You don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, maybe but I can't do it now. I actually can't do it. Like I have too much pride to like succumb to the Sheasel pressure. Yeah. I need to be the guy that's not going with him. That'll be my thing now.
Solid.
And
I like it.
Look, we'll talk about Sheasel in our forwards episode. But let's go to this next guy who I didn't do any research on, and I don't think you did either because I didn't have him on our list until 5 minutes ago, and it's Clayton Oliver, and I just put him on here literally before we started recording because Tom Green's possibly done his ACL. So I'm just literally going to look at his DFS page and see if I can find any interesting information. But obviously he's been a guy that's a little bit for the last couple of years, but at his heights was like a 110 absolute fantasy beast. Averaged a high of 113 in 2023.
I was going to say from the eye test, without doing any stats whatsoever, without doing any research, it seems that he needs to find the consistency again. Like he lost it at the D's. Like he had that terrible year where he just I don't know what fell off the face of a cliff. And he just hasn't
averaged 77.
Hasn't had the proper consistency since there. Yes, he's had great scores, but it's like we had him last year. I think most of us had him as that mid pricer who he got up some price and then. Yeah, just never found the right stride. New club, new stripes, maybe he can. Would be ideal because, with Tom Green out, he'll definitely have access to more midfield time. It's the consistency that worries me.
Interestingly, he didn't... So, 2024, when he averaged 77, he played 21 games. 2025, when he averaged 89 last year, played 22 games. So, he's still playing. It's just low scoring. And, when we had him last year... He opened from round 1 onwards, 84, 114, 108, 104, 98. Then he kind of dropped off with an 81 and 88. And then a 41. I think that's when most of us got off him. He had a couple games where he got tagged. So tagged against Essendon, still scored a 98. And he actually did some tagging as well. Did he tag Butters? I think, or he tagged. It says here he tagged in the Port game. He still scored 97, so I don't think the Giants use him as a tagger. They've got Bedford, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I could see him jumping back to 100. And I guess the main thing I wanted to talk about here is what did he do without Green? He's now the contested guy in there. And I mean, maybe what we need to talk about is who benefits as who's their third mid. Is it O'Halloran? If so, he could be some upside. I mean, how does Oliver work with Callahan? There's so many questions that unfortunately we just haven't had the time to prepare anything because it's happened 5 minutes before we started recording. But I think that he could be a pick now.
Yeah, possibly. I don't mind it at all. Like you said, doable. For me, I want to see the consistency first.
Yeah.
And he's got the buy. He's got the buy. That's the other thing. He's got the buy.
That's true. Yeah. It could be one of those things where maybe we wait and see if he can score. So Hawthorn opening round and then Bulldogs St Kilda Collingwood. We get to see what he can do. Then he has his bye. Then straight off the bye, he goes Richmond, great. Sydney, tough. North, great. Gold Coast, great. Essendon, great. West Coast, great. They have a fantastic... I mean, we spoke about it with Callahan afterwards. West Coast after that, great. Like, there's... I think maybe that might be the play looking at it now, is after his bye.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not starting him. But a guy that we are starting, Darcy Parish, 85.3. He averaged 759k. And we're getting into full mid prices here. And this is the only one I'm happy to lock. He's averaged 106, 105, 100 in the past. He should get back to that same role. Averaged about 80% time on ground in those 3 years, as well as CBAs in the high 70s. I think he gets those CBAs in the high 70s, but I don't know about the TOG. I don't know if he goes back up to 80% TOG with his injuries. And he doesn't really have a resting position. He kind of plays half forward, but I just don't see him getting back there. I see him sitting around low 70s TOG.
Yeah, once again, it's consistency. If he has the higher time on ground, if he has the consistent stretch of games. I mean, look, priced at where he is, I think it's upside straight away.
Yeah.
I think, he's a great player at his prime. We all know that he's a magic wild card in footy cut. So these and fantasy and impact, AFL impact wise, he's clearly a great guy.
Yeah. Because that's the line for everything. What
100%.
Kind of footy card they got.
Yeah. Are you a magic wild card or are you not? Those who were you ever a footy card guy?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't know where they've gone. I think my mum sold them a few years ago, and they're gone. Yeah.
I've still got all of mine. I'll do a little fantasy preview once. I'll just show them my footy cards and all that stuff. Anyway,
maybe,
no. I want to see the consistency, same as Clayton Oliver, but it's got enough upside for me to pick him at the start of the year. I'm not heart set. Darcy Parish is going to be outstanding. I hope he is. I hope this is a good pick. I hope he can find the type of player he was a few years back. That'd be great because price where he is, it's enough upside that the risk kind of cancels out. That I think that we can pick him in the side of their sides with no buy and an not the greatest run but all right-ish. I like it. The risk is cancelled out by the upside.
Yeah, and priced at 72. I mean, even if he goes 90, which is probably what I think he could go, maybe 95. That's 20 to 25 points of upside.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think we're locking this one in.
Yeah,
we should do some footy card opening. I reckon.
I think that'd be awesome.
Fun.
Yeah.
One Thursday night, we should both buy a pack of footy cards.
Yeah.
And by the end of the weekend, when we meet back again on Monday, whoever's footy card pack scored the most total fantasy points.
That's a great idea. Oh, we should do that every week. That is an awesome idea.
We should do that. I think they come with AFLW cards now though, so that we wouldn't be able to use them.
That's all right. We just use the rest of them.
I mean, I guess that means we've got 4 or 5 scorers.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the midfielders.
Harley Reid. I see you've written down. You don't have anything written on him. I've got a little bit about Harley Reid. So I like him as a West Coast fan. He's awesome. He's a great player. Impact over fantasy scoring the first couple of years though, which is the only problem for me. Priced at 700k, average of 66.7. He's done all right. He was the number one midfielder for 2026. I reckon he's going to be. Sorry, 2025. I reckon he's going to be their number one midfielder for 2026. He's got some serious responsibility now. He finished the season averaging 67, but he actually had a really good end of the year. He averaged 92 in his last 5 games. So you're only as good as your last game. He finished the year with 2 100s. So he's before he got injured. I reckon he's got the breakout year coming. So I like him. I've got him as a meh for no reason. I reckon I might change that to a yes. I really like Harley Reid's upside. The only thing for me, the only thing for me is he's got the floor. We all know that. And playing for West Coast, it's hard. They're not gonna be scoring as many points. Like if he was playing on a team like even North Melbourne, or like a St Kilda, I reckon he scores far more than he does at the Eagles. But we saw it. Yeah. He went 97, 103, 117. 91 in his last 5 games. I mean, he got injured in round 20 and didn't play the end of the season against the Freo, but I'm not counting that. He has the responsibility there. Like draft night, he was up there. He was the spokesman for the club, taking photos of Willem Dersmer and all that sort of stuff like. But it's also tough that Willem Dersmer had to have a photo with his sister's ex-boyfriend. That was kind of crazy. But anyway,
that was crazy.
That was pretty crazy. But no, he's got the responsibility. He's done the opposite of a Jason Horne-Francis. Like Horne Francis was out of there. See you later. I want to go home. Harley Reid is sticking to West Coast even though they're at the bottom of the table. Now that shows something. That shows responsibility. That shows like how mature he is as a person, let alone a footballer. And I really think he can step up. I wouldn't be surprised if he averages 90. I reckon he's a 90 guy. I really, really think he can be if all the things go right. West Coast, I have West Coast winning 4 games. I have them beating Melbourne at home. I have them beating Essendon at home. I have them even beating Freo in a home game if they have it. I reckon they win 4 games. I reckon they're not going to be as bad as people think. Everyone talks about, West Coast is going to be bottom feeders again. Yes, they might be bottom of the table, but I reckon they're better than what people think. I really do. And maybe that's just like some optimism coming from a West Coast fan, but we'll see. I just like Harley Reid's upsides. Priced at 66, he at least goes 80. Surely you can agree with that. I reckon he at least goes 80, but I reckon he really can be a 90s guy.
Yeah, so, obviously, before that injured game in round 20, the last 5 games, he averaged 92, with high scores of 103 and 117. My flags with him, obviously, playing for West Coast is a bit of a flag. I think he could be a 90 guy, but I think it bumps him down to 80 playing for West Coast. Although I do agree, I think that they'll be a little bit better, at least scoring a bit better this year. Especially if they tighten up that midfield rotation, and that's almost kind of the flag for me is, Elliot Yeo coming back in. Does that affect him? Does he jump him in CBAs? As you said, Harley Reid was top for CBAs last year, which kind of does it, there's no room to move for him. If he was third in the CBAs last year to I don't know, Elijah Hewitt and Brady Hoff, I'd be absolutely jumping on this because you go, okay, there's no way that happens again. Harley Reid's obviously above those two, but first and now Yo coming back in, do they put Tim Kelly back in there? Do they try and, tighten it up a bit? Is he going to be the first guy? I don't know. I just, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. But third year, over his second year Blues, he's an older player now. Like you said, face of the club. I think there's upside in that, and finished the year off strong. So I can see good and bad. I definitely see him going above his price. I just don't know if it's enough value for me.
Yeah.
Well, on to these next 2 guys who I'll quickly go through, and then you'll go through a special port guy, and we'll go through our rookies. Couple Melbourne blokes, Harvey Langford and Xavier Lindsay. So I think I had a met on this, but just before we recorded as well, I was reading some stuff on some notes on the Melbourne match sim, which I think is happening at the moment, or has just happened. So obviously we wanted Harvey Langford in the CBA mix, averaged 62.7 last year, priced at 658. The departure of Oliver, track, Viney out long term. You'd think he gets some mid-time, but in today's match sim, it was Steele, Sparrow and Windsor as the main 3, with Langford on a wing coming in as the 4th or 5th guy, but there was also no Cozzy or Rivers there, which means that he's maybe bumped down to 5th, 6th guy, which just kind of leads me to saying no, I think. But when he did, as a rookie, averaged 107.3, so he can score. In his 5 games with over 20% CBAs, averaged 72.2. So he could be a good pick. And then just quickly on to Xavier Lindsay as well. 550k, he is slightly more unique than Langford, but I'm hotter on this than him. So when you take out his sub-affected scores, which he won't have this year, obviously averaged 64, he should play off half-back. And like we speak about with Salem, without Bowie, McVie and May there, I think he could have some upside, kind of be the second guy there with Salem. I think you could take more kick-ins with those 3 there. He possibly could pop in for some CBAs. He did have 7% in 1 game last year, but maybe that looks less likely. It seems Wins is the guy they're really going with there. But I think you can pick him. I think there's upside for him to go 75 maybe. So, yeah, there's those 2 guys.
Yeah, I got nothing on those 2. I kind of just... I had him in my mind. I was looking for that mid-punter price, but I've just got my heart set on someone who's a little bit... little bit of a different. Look, everyone says no. I'm just gonna go straight to them. Will Brodie. Everyone is saying
no.
Everyone is saying
It's
no.
a no.
Now, let me chew your ear for a little second. Will Brodie,
Okay.
priced at 400 and something, 457. Now, he hasn't played AFL footy in the last 2 years. I understand that, but jump back to 2023, and I know you can't just look at 2023. 2022. Shoot, that's a long time ago. Anyway, jump back to 2022. He had an average of 95 in Frio's midfield with Andy Brayshaw, and I'm pretty sure Sorong was there too. That might have been his rookie year though. He's averaging 95. He scores high of 128, 117, 116. 117 again. But the thing that stands out for me is that he didn't go below 73. We talk about a high ceiling. You talked about Wang Miller's high ceiling of 70. This bloke's floor. This bloke's floor is 73. When he has a proper season. The last couple of years he's been fighting injuries. 2023 only played 5 games. 2024 didn't play. 2025 didn't play. He's put together a really strong preseason. You can't look past the videos and the footage that we've seen of his preseason. He's tearing it up in the midfield. Whether he breaks into Port's midfield, it's a tough place to break into. There's 5 spots in the interchange bench. I reckon he's at least on the interchange. Now, here's a quote from Josh Carr, who was the midfield coach at Fremantle when Will Brodie averaged his 95. He can find the footy. He'll play AFL footy this year. People are saying, oh, that means he's not going to be there round 1. He's going to hurt. Yeah, Ollie Wines is suspended for the first 2 games. If Will Brodie's going to make the team at any point, it's off of this preseason that he's had where he's outstanding, tearing it up in the trial games. I'm going there later today. I'm going to take some videos for Off the Mark Fantasy just to prove, just like Will Brodie knows how to play footy. He can play footy. He's elite. I reckon he's in the side. And if he's not, whoop-de-doo. Oh, well, I flipped Xavier Lindsay. But you have to at least consider him. You can't just put him straight on the no. You have to. If there's ever been a watch list for value, it's this guy. Priced at 457, a bloke that's gone 95. He's not just a no-namer. Yes, some people don't know he hasn't played since 2023, but at Freo, averaging 95, and Freo were a pretty good team as well. Like, it's not just a nobody. At price at 457, you have to at least put him on the watch list.
Okay. You haven't convinced me, but I've changed him to yellow on the document. He's not a red for me. The flag for me is that, yes, I think he gets game time. Yes, he could stay on the side, but I worry that the Ollie Wines being out for 2 games and then coming back in, like, even if he does stay on the side, he's going to get 2 games of CBAs, you would assume, with Ollie Wines out, right?
Yeah. He
could score, I'll say, 80s in that time.
Yeah.
Break even goes hella down, and then Ollie Wines comes back and he gets pushed out to like a wing where I'm trying to think of whom, like, I could see him replacing like a Jackson Mead in Port's side, almost like that kind of wing, maybe jumping for a couple of CBAs. And then I think he goes from going 80s to 70s or maybe even 60s. Yeah. And I think that his cash gen just stops after like 3 or 4 games. Well, and then you're going to have to trade him off, which could not be the worst thing because, again, we're going to be wanting guys off buys, but I'd almost just rather save 150k and go a rookie.
You know what he's priced at, right? Like, he's playing
like 40.
Yeah, he's playing North Melbourne and like Port's run. It's as simple as that. So if you agree that he's gonna get some bulk CBA time in the first 2 rounds with Ollie Wine, only takes 1 good game to pop a 100, pop a 95, and his cash gen goes right up. So even when he is scoring 70s and he's still priced at 55, his cash gen is still going up. I think it's the perfect at least 3 round, maybe even a 5 round play. I intend to have him until the end of the buys at round 5. I think that
I could jump on that more if it's a like early buy, opening round buy play.
Yeah. I'm not saying Will Brodie's going to be in team from go to woe. Like he's priced at a rookie price ish. He's a little bit more expensive than a rookie. But he's got the same upside, and it's like if you have a rookie who you know is going to get, who you know has like a high ceiling, then you jump on that rookie straight away, right? This guy's priced a little bit more expensive than that, but we know he has a high ceiling. Scored 128, scored 117. He's done it a couple of times before in a side that has one of the best run. It has the best run to start the season. I just think all of the stars align. The only reason people are saying no to Will Brodie, and the only thing is because they don't see him in the best 22, which is fine, because if there's a red dot next to his name, you don't pick him. But until then, he's in your side. Like, is there a...
But my worry is that there's not a red dot next to his name. I pick him, and then as soon as Ollie Wines comes in, there's a red dot next to his name. Like, I feel like it's just the easiest straight swap of, like, we have this guy, he hasn't played for a while. He's had a good preseason, let's give him a taste. He'll play well, but then we have our proper guy and Ollie Wines come back. And Brodie's either shoved off to a wing to score low somewhere, in which case it's not the worst scenario. You probably just ride it and trade him out after a couple of rounds. But if he's out of the side and he's only at like 550, if I have the cash to spend it and upgrade a rookie to him, like I think my M6 right now is Cumming, who's like 320k. If I had the cash, I would upgrade him to Brodie, but I just don't, and I don't think I'm mad about it. Yeah. Cumming 326k. So I've changed it to yellow. I think you can pick him, but yeah, and I agree with mostly everything.
Yes. Well,
it's just the only ones that scares me.
Yeah, we've kind of talked for a long time. This is probably one of our longest podcasts so far, especially for the year. So as you've written down, we'll just do the rookies, like kind of how we did last time, but a little bit shorter format. So here we are. There's about, 7 or 8 of them? Seven of them. So yeah, from rookies for the midfield, price, doesn't matter where they're priced, but this is how we think we're going to rank them. Upside, downside, what we think of them, and just ready, set, go. So, Mason, rookies for the midfield.
Here we go. All right, number 1, we are putting Jagger Smith at number 1. He's 230k. He averaged 113.1 in under 18s footy. I just think he's the lock of all locks. He'll play all year. He's an accumulator. He'll be the 4th man in CBAs. If you don't have him, what are you doing?
Exactly right. Number 2, Dyson Sharp for Essendon. Averaged 60.9 in 9 games of the sample last year. He should play round 1. He's in Essendon. We know where their side's like with injuries. They don't have as many this year, but mate, he's a ready-made midfielder. Put him in your side.
At number 3, we have Sam Cumming from Richmond. Averaged 73.7 in 9 games of the sample last year, but also averaged 27 disposals, which is pretty good. Injured his shoulder halfway through the year in the sample, but he was fit for the draft combine. Hasn't had any problems since. Models his game off Isaac Heaney. Tim Taranto said that he's had a great preseason. I think we can lock him in.
Yeah. Number 4, Dan Annable from Brisbane. Averaged 75 in 8 VFL games for Brisbane. 21.3 disposals in those games. That's outstanding. Played on a wing and half forward on the A team in the match sim. He models his game off of Lachie Neale. Brisbane's a hard team to break into, but if Dan Annable has a green dot next to his name, he's in our side.
Absolutely. Number 5, we have Josh Smiley from Richmond, 230k, averaged 96.5 in under 18s footy in 2024, and then 53 for Richmond's VFL side last year. He did have quad surgery over the off-season. He's still integrating back into training, but when he's a green dot, we absolutely have to pick him.
Oh yeah. Number 6, Sullivan Roby. Now, some of you might not know that name. Plays for Essendon. Averaged 89.2 in under 18s footy. A goal-kicking midfielder. He kicked 18 goals in 9 games. Like that is unreal. And kicked 4 in the grand final. All of that while playing with a cracked collarbone. That is next level. Has been part of the rehab group during preseason with a back, but is now back to training. If he's got a green dot, he's right up there.
Absolutely. And last on our list, number 7, Patrick Retschko, averaged 77.6 for Geelong's VFL side, playing all season as a centre-half back and a wing. He's a super runner with a tank, but he does have the size to play some midfield time. I would expect him to play on a wing for Richmond pretty early on if he does play.
There you go. There are our top 7 midfielders for the rookie prices. I reckon that's a pretty good list.
That's a pretty good list. And if you couldn't tell, we were probably a bit more enthusiastic with that because we have been pumping out the Instagram content, the shorts on all the social media. So go catch us on there. Follow us at offthemark.fantasy on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube and all that jazz. And go check out some of the shorts because my video editing is getting better. It's getting better. I'm learning how to fade the photos in and put the little pop sound effects as the players pop up. It's getting good. It's getting good, so check it out.
Hats off to you, man. I don't know how you do it. I just sit here and come on the podcast every week. I do nothing. Mason does everything behind the scenes, sets it all, does it all. So hats off to you, mate. Well done.
Couldn't do it without you.
With any luck, your preview of the midfield, listening to this, choosing your team, all of that, having Will Brodie inside, having not Will Brodie inside, doesn't matter. With any luck, you're on the mark.
and not off the mark. And we'll be back next week. And I think we're going to preview the forwards first and leave the rucks till last to see how some of the rucks can work in the scratch matches, which we'll see starting next week. I think Tuesday or Wednesday is the first one. Carlton v Brisbane. Get excited. So, yeah, we'll be back to preview all of that.
Sounds good. See you then.
See ya.